Thank you, Madam Chair, and again, thank you for holding the hearing. I'm glad that we're reviewing the President's climate change or President's climate regulation plan. Oversight is a good thing, and we appreciate you all being here. In fact, we need to have you up here more often discussing not only these issues, but these really important problems that we face as a nation. Today, the question is not whether greenhouse gases trap heat. They do. The question is whether current climate science can predict and adequately explain the complexity of climate change. Can it do so well, do it to the point that our politicians here in Washington can manipulate the Earth's temperature from their desk as we speak? Certainly their track record in that regard in the past has not been very good in a number of different things. The question is also whether expensive regulations would have significant impact on the global climate, and whether the President's policies are worth lost jobs, lower take-home pay, higher gas and electricity prices, higher food prices, and so on. Sadly, this plan appears to be all pain and no gain. The President once said that his climate policies would make the cost of electricity necessarily skyrocket. Now he says his plans won't cost much. The President may promise that if you like affordable energy, you can keep affordable energy, but like his other promises, we know that that's simply not true. We hear many claims, but the actual climate is not doing what the models predicted. As one of our witnesses said last year, the models have not been successfully field tested for predicting climate change, and so far their error rate should preclude their use for predicting future climate change. So what does all this mean? Let me explain in my terms. I'm an optometrist. My brother was an ophthalmologist. We had an eye clinic. When a patient's symptoms were complicated or unclear, we never pretended to be certain about a diagnosis. Instead, we would take a scientific approach and be thoughtful, ask questions, investigate, and we were honest with our patients. We would not prescribe a risky procedure if we were uncertain whether we would do more harm than good. Climate change is similar. There's uncertainty. We see symptoms, but there's strong contradictory evidence. There's broad consensus that carbon emissions have at least some impact on the climate, but we don't know how much. And beyond that, the consensus breaks down. So the diagnosis is unclear. The President's climate regulations are a series of risky procedures with potentially harmful consequences to treat a possible problem that we don't actually understand. So the scientific approach, despite what's being said and being actually done, the actual scientific process is to be thoughtful, ask questions, and investigate. Sadly, those who raise legitimate questions are portrayed as, quote, anti-science. But there's nothing scientific about discrediting conflicting evidence and asking reasonable questions. Political parties are not science referees, cutting off debate when it suits one side. In short, no political party has a monopoly on the facts. Speaking of the facts, when reviewing proposed rules, we must be honest about both the benefits and the cost. Sadly, the administration recently disregarded well-established OMB cost-benefit guidelines to generate an increased social cost of carbon. In other words, they broke the rules to make emissions look more costly. They cooked the books to meet their needs. Instead of creating climate millionaires who benefit from carbon trading schemes and new regulations, let's remember that pain falls hardest on low-income families. These rules will drive industry costs, hurting American workers and creating foreign factories that emit far more than we would save. This climate plan can't pass Congress, and I understand the temptation to ignore our systems of checks and balances, pretend the Constitution doesn't exist, and implement whatever plans the President would like. But that's not how representative democracy works. The rest of the world is retreating, as we heard earlier. Instead, let's find common ground. Let's encourage all of the above energy mix, including wind, renewable biomass, hydro, solar, natural gas, will continue to reduce carbon emissions. Nuclear power can produce vast quantities of emissions-free energy. Efficiency and new innovations offer great promise. In short, regardless of whoever's views, we can all work together to reduce emissions without this job-killing climate plan. Let's find that common ground. I very much look forward to your testimony. Thanks.